Do they have these in men's sizes? Castle 1.
Well, actually, I can remember the first time I laid eyes on Rob, who was at the time Robbie.
Oh.
And he was like 5 or 6 years old. Rob's dad and I became buddies when we were both kind of gopher. Well, I was a gopher at KTLA, and his father was the relief A-board announcer for the station. So when the other guy got sick, Chuck would be in there going, "This is KTLA in Los Angeles." You know, so
yeah.
So that's how far back I go with Rob's dad. And Chuck and I worked together on a lot of those shows I did at Universal, and then he came and worked on a lot of shows as a producer and a director on the shows that I did when I formed my own studio. So having Rob come along, it was like generational.
You know, somewhere in my mid-teens, I had the task of transferring all the episodes of Rockford from, I think, 3/4 to 1/2 inch. I guess I didn't finish it, apparently. And that's when I sort of started stacking up who Uncle Steve was. And I was standing in his office, which was Desi Arnaz's office, was Howard Hughes' huge office, very intimidating. And there was Steve behind the big desk, you know, looking dapper like he always does. And he just said, "How you doing? What are you up to?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to school and taking film classes and whatnot." He goes, "Well, then what are you going to do?" And I just had this moment where I can remember a shot went up my spine. It was like, "Now, say it." And I said, "Well, I'm going to come back and work as a PA in your company." And he said, "Fine." And it was over like that. And I don't know where I got the courage to ask for it, but that began professionally my apprenticeship under the Steve Cannell.
And he started in the mailroom and ended up in my post-production department and sitting behind me, and we'd be looking at dailies. And I would say to Rob, who would be sitting behind me, I said, "Now, there's a hole in this movie, and the film that you're shooting's got to be better than the film on the A side of the cut and the film on the B side of the cut. So I'm looking for you to improve this movie, not just make it the same, you know, because we're going to go out and spend some money." And Rob started to bring me back footage that was not only a little bit better than the stuff that was on both sides of the cut, but massively better. And I remember once we were doing an A-team where there was a truck that was like supposed to be like an animal. And I said to Rob, I said, "Okay, I'm going to spend some money. I'm going to go out and I want to fix this truck sequence now. You got to go out and you got to shoot it, and this truck has got to be a snarling, angry beast." And I can't tell you how cool that sequence was, that I would have never in my own imagination thought to shoot. He got underneath the truck, I remember, and photographed the universal joints when they were going chunk 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 chunk. So it almost was like an animal trying to make a move, you know, but holding back. And it's just a really interesting piece of filmmaking. And I'd say, you know, this guy's ready to direct. I think he needs to take an episode out and see what he can do. We had a show on called Stingray, and I went to the producer of Stingray, and I said, "Please take," and I was one of the executive producers on that show. I said to this guy, "Please take Rob on the next episode. I think he's right to do the show." And the guy goes, "Not going to direct my episode. No way. No way." So I went, geez, I couldn't get him a job in my own company, you know? So I finally thought, well, I'm going to write the next episode of Stingray. So I wrote something called Orange Blossom, and I said, he's going to direct my episode. So I put him on Orange Blossom, and it was like one of the best Stingrays ever. And then there was a line out in front of his office, you know, trying to get him to do everybody wanted him, you know, because then they could see what he had delivered to that episode that was so special.
Well, for me, you know, growing up in suburban Maryland, which is as far away from Hollywood as I could imagine being, you know, I didn't have an Uncle Steve, but I kind of felt as if I did, because I love movies, I love TV, and for me, my introduction to Steven was, you know, this crazy character typing on his typewriter and whipping out the page at the end of it. And I'm like, that's cool. I want to be a part of that. And when I think back to the things I love, to me, the Rockford Files was a real revelation. Here was a guy who was a human being just trying to do a job. And if somebody would come across him and say, "Rockford, don't want you looking in on this case," or, you know, I'm going to beat you up, he'd be like, okay, I'm done. Don't hit me. And, you know, he'd never get hit, and it would hurt. But Gardner was so great in that role and so human. And that sort of character was the kind of thing that I wanted to capture in Castle.
Which, by the way, I thought was an amazing script. And if you'd been around when I was doing Rockford, I'd have chased you for 10 miles to get you, you know, because it was just, every page was just loaded with tremendous humor, but all of it coming out of the attitude of this arrogant writer who just, it was just terrific, you know. And what I love about your script and your series is that it's the, you know, the flaws are always more interesting than the strengths. You know, you write a character with a lot of personality quirks. Those are what make that character fun to watch.
What?
Nothing.
I gotta say, you know, I think there's a little Rick Castle in all of us.
So you are Castle in a way, in your head, in your imagination or your life.
He's a lot more clever, a lot more handsome than I am. So, but aside from that, we're exactly the same.
Castle. Castle. That's to you.
Oh, sorry.
So Andrew had this notion that Castle would host these poker games with other mystery writers. And I was on set, and one of the other execs, Lori Zach, said, hey, could you see if Steven will do it? I go, hang on. Hello? Hey, Steve. Hey, you want to be in my show? Yeah, sure. Good, done. Yeah, he said yes. I mean, this is after months of trying to wrangle everybody. Going to work that day, I remember driving to Raleigh Studios thinking I'm going to direct Steven today. But I've never directed him before. You know, I was a student. But it was a really cool moment for me. There he was at my table with Andrew's script, which was very Rockford-esque. You know, I don't know, how do you put it in words? It was fantastic.
We had fun. And, you know, he's a tough director. You only look at you can get away with anything, you know? It's like one of the things about, you know, about good directors and good actors, it's like good tennis players. You know, you come up to their level. And, you know, I've done enough acting over the years to know that when you're with a really good actor, your performance is always better. And when you have really good directors who you can trust, who will come up to you and tug you on the sleeve and go, "What are you doing?" Yeah. You know, it's always better. At the end of the day, you're always much prouder of what you've done.
The upside down baby slate.